Hello friends, hope you're doing well. My name is Bipin. I am CEO and co-founder of Katitik. Today I have a friend, an entrepreneur whom I really admire. We're going to talk about the world of media and advertising. We're going to talk about bootstrapping a business. We're going to talk a lot about growing a venture while bootstrapping and taking it to heights. Welcome to Startup Simplified, Anish.
Thanks, Bipin.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. I've seen such amazing shows you've put together.
Thank you. This is long due, yeah. I mean, we've been planning this for a while now.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy we are doing this now at MoonFolks office.
Yeah.
So let's start first with why MoonFolks? What's behind the name?
Actually, there's so many considerations that went into creating a new brand, but largely we've entered 2024 with a lot of focus around AI. And I believe that in an AI-driven world, you don't need ideas that are out of the box. You need ideas that are out of this world. And the best view of the world, I believe, is the little blue dot you see from the moon.
Sure.
So here we are as MoonFolks.
Hey, nice.
Giving you a very different perspective of the world.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I've known you for a few years now. I think 2.5, 3 years.
Probably longer.
Probably longer.
Yeah.
So what I see is a very successful entrepreneur. I've seen you in that phase of life, right? I met you first when you were already CEO and co-founder for M&C Saatchi.
Yeah.
Right. But we really don't know who you are, what's been your journey, right? So let's talk first about that a bit, right?
Okay.
You can share about where did you grow up, where did you study,
Sure.
and your journey in media.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. So I'm a Calcutta boy. I was born there and studied at St. James's School. Went to St. Xavier's College. So always been a Calcutta boy and so much of a Calcuttan at heart, even today. And my journey started in advertising in Calcutta, actually by accident. So I don't believe that.
So you're not studied advertising, or you did?
I've not studied any kind of mass comm, whatever, formally. Right, like there's no formal education that went into my career in the beginning. Advertising found me rather than me finding advertising in a way. I wanted to join the army growing up. Okay. So, and that happened from a very young age, probably when I was like 3-4 years old, and I would, was someone in the family from army? Never.
No. Okay.
I just had this feeling.
Okay.
And then I was growing up, my eyesight sadly went bad, and that was in the family. So I had myopia, and then I figured that no, it's not probably going to be the best career choice for me. So it's a bit lost in terms of what I really want to do. I was a lot into, I was very creative in my approach growing up. I used to write, my essays would be published, etc. I got into debating and elocution and dramatics. So I did a lot of that, which was fun.
But that comes with the being Bong territory as well.
I'm not Bong as per se.
Born in
Bong land.
I mean, it just brings that, right? The energy of Calcutta.
Yeah, it's very culturally driven and inclined.
Correct.
State and city.
Correct.
So that kind of
rubbed off
in a very positive way on me. So it was this one morning in college where we were coming out. College used to get over at 9:40 a.m. in the morning. We used to start college at 6. It was a morning college. And I was kind of helping my dad in his business and stuff. So 9:40 we were coming out of college, and there was a group of guys who were just pulling people out. Hey, you come. So I kind of got pulled out as well. And then they told us that we are from a finishing school for models and modeling. And we have this program where we want to groom young faces, fresh faces.
Okay.
And
for modeling. Okay.
And so, we found you interesting. So come over to our studio. We'll shoot a free portfolio for you. And then for all the work that you get, we kind of, have
a
commission for it and stuff. So I said, how much do you get paid? So, and they gave me some, It was much more than pocket money
Sure.
that I could imagine.
Yeah.
I said, oh, so I become a model, you train me, I become a model, and I get work, and you pay me for it, literally. Yeah, exactly, that's what it is. So I went ahead with it. So my career actually started in modeling.
Okay.
And while I went for these shoots that's when I interacted with my first set of advertising folks.
Sure.
Where I learned that, okay, there is something called copywriting, and it's not just writing long format copy, but writing something which is, in the shortest possible format, but in the most expressive kind of way. There is something called strategy. There's a consumer insight that goes into creating a fit between a brand and a consumer and building that relationship. And there are people who actually manage business and stuff. I found it really interesting. So my first entrepreneurial journey then was when I started this modeling school of my own at the age of 19.
Modeling school of your own?
Yes, yeah, because I was so bored with, being in front of the camera, because very mindless thing to do in a way, right?
Okay.
And so and then I found it very interesting that I had the knack for choreography and stuff. And so I said, I want to be my own choreographer. And then I started and then with 3 senior models, I started my own finishing school.
So this came out of pure passion?
Yeah.
Or like economics was a massive factor?
I mean, no, not really.
Purely
it was
passion.
Just, yeah, I mean, my parents were humble, but then they were providing. So it's, they've been through their ups and downs, but they were kind of providing. But it just happened that I happened to be in the whole modeling circle in Calcutta. And then I had this opportunity to, these friends came up and said, let's start our own. And so at 19, I was running my own finishing school.
Sure.
And then I was looking for work for my students. And so that's when I actually, started interacting with agencies a lot more holistically in a way, right? And I happened to, while I was engaging with them, I happened to hear about the kind of briefs they were getting and what a client brief really is and how it translates to a creative brief. And I found it so fascinating.
Which year was this?
This was in 1999, 2000.
Okay.
I was 19, 20 years old.
Sure.
Yeah.
An amazing time to be in media in India.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the economy had just opened up. You had all these international brands coming in.
Correct.
Cable TV was at its peak.
Telco saw its first boom at that point of time, right?
Correct.
So largely everything was just kind of, the world was kind of bubbling and opening up and stuff. And so and then I found it very interesting, and then I started learning work from them. Then I got into an agency called Inner Circle Advertising, which is my alma mater, run by a very respectable gentleman called Kanchan Datta, who was one of my mentors, founding mentors, I would say. And they were a bunch of ex-agency people. I mean, in the sense they'd been in large agencies who set up their own shop. So it was my grooming into advertising, into basically how things work. But it was also my grooming into entrepreneurialism, and from that day onwards, I wanted to have my own agency someday. But I also wanted a global career. I wanted that exposure of working across multiple cultures. So I kind of wanted it all.
Sure.
And somewhere at the back of my head, I knew that things will fall in place and things will happen at the right time when they have to. And that
You've
happened.
always been this patient.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, I say I'm the most impatient person I know, because things have to happen for me and with me when I've thought of it. So at the speed of thought.
Okay.
Right? But then you prioritize, right? These are the things you need to do at a certain point of time in life. And then eventually you get to a point where you're ready to do bigger things.
Sure.
So it was more like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So your advertising journey kick-started in 99, 2000.
Yes, my first internships, etc., happened around that time. And then I started interning full-time at Inner Circle. So the day I graduated, I had a job there itself. And then some of them were ex-Ogilvy employees and like sort of alma mater. And then I was like, I want to learn from where they learned. And then I sat for a few interviews, etc. And then I got my first big break in a big agency, which was Ogilvy, Calcutta.
Nice.
And then just moved on from there.
So when did you move to Indonesia?
So I was the CEO of an agency called Phibius, and I came to head their agency from Vietnam in Indonesia. So I moved here in April 2016. Sorry, yeah. But for a year, I kept visiting Indonesia. I spent a week every month from the year 2015 onwards.
What were your early impressions of Indonesia?
So
tell me from both perspective, personal as well as advertising landscape and more.
Sure. So from a personal perspective, I was hungry to explore one other culture, yet another culture, yet another market, and different set of challenges and market realities and stuff. So that was exciting. From a professional perspective, I was coming to head an agency which nobody knew at all. And 1 year down the line, we were the Independent Agency of the Year Gold at Campaign Asia. So I had that opportunity to create something, and I've always loved to create. So opportunity to create something out of nothing, right?
Sure.
And that was what kind of really drew me to this. Otherwise, from the minute I landed here, I've loved the people here. I mean, there's something so infectiously sweet about them.
Correct.
That it really connects directly to your heart in a way.
True.
I've loved the food here. I'm a diver, so this is like haven
paradise.
It's paradise.
Absolute paradise
for divers. So all the checks in the boxes in a way. And though I'd really enjoyed the 3.5 years I spent in Vietnam as well, it was again another very vibrant, young, youthful, energetic kind of country. But coming to Indonesia, I also saw that the landscape was stable in so many ways, politically, socioeconomically, and it being the largest economy out of Southeast Asia, fourth largest population in the world, you largely see this as a land of opportunity if you're one of the ones who wants to come and create something.
I'm with you on that, 100%. So how did M&C Saatchi happen to you? So that's your proper first founding kind of a role.
Yes, yeah. So when I was ready to move on from Phibius, I realized that why am I building an agency for somebody else? And I've always wanted to do this.
I didn't know where you wanted to do it.
Yeah. So I didn't know where, I didn't know when. And initially I saw a lot of success in Indonesia in terms of appreciation from colleagues and talent, senior talent, relationships I built with clients. And so that gave me a lot of confidence to do something on my own. And so I wanted to start my own agency. And I was having a few conversations if anybody's interested in funding it or doing something about it. That's when my paths crossed with this gentleman called Richard Morwood, who was the CEO of M&C Saatchi in Asia.
Asia, okay.
Yeah, and then they told me that they have this very interesting model where they partner with people with market level knowledge and experience, and so do a sort of a joint venture with them. So it kind of worked for me in many ways, saying that okay, one is I'm starting a business, two, I have a big network backing me.
Sure.
And so it became a bit of a win-win that I'd be starting as an independent agency, but overnight I'll also be a part of the world's largest independent agency network.
True.
And so that was
that also requires a financial commitment from your end?
Yes. So basically, somewhere I had been planning this my entire life.
Okay.
So I've never owned property. I've never have any massive investments. I actually kept most of my assets liquid, so when I needed to, I could take this one big risk.
No one's gonna believe you when you say that you're the most impatient person. I mean, this requires years of patience and planning.
It does, of course, especially when you're starting starting up. you've got to assume that you've got to have an enough runway long enough that even if you don't pay yourself for a year and a half, two, you should be okay, right? So you plan for it.
Sure.
So I did plan for it, but yeah, I'm still very impatient.
Again, I might be completely wrong in my reading. From whatever I've known, you come across as someone who's slightly risk averse as a person, and then you're bootstrapping and getting into a business where you're putting all your eggs in one basket. You're placing this one very large bet.
Yeah.
What is the mindset at that point? I mean, apart from the conviction, look, everyone who starts is convinced that they're going to do amazing, right?
Correct.
But apart from that, what else were these green ticks which you saw that made you that, okay, hey, listen, this is it. I'm like all in.
Yeah. So I have a philosophy that many of my friends who are listening who know me well enough will resonate with, where I believe that the best plan A is when there's no plan B.
Okay.
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 If you have a plan B, that means you have somewhere factored certain risks that might come in the way of you accomplishing your plan A. So the idea is to build such a strong plan A that you don't even need to consider a plan B.
Okay.
So my approach to most things in life, be it relationships, be it life, business, is largely from that perspective. And more often than not, that has worked for me.
Okay.
And so the idea is to continue doing what works.
Sure.
Right? So yeah, that's been my approach. I mean, I was 35 when I started M&C Saatchi in Indonesia, and at 35 you're at that very interesting point where you have a lot of youthful energy and optimism, and sometimes
and the maturity of 30s, right?
Yeah, but you also have the experience that has built that mature kind of into mature learnings over time.
Correct.
So you're very well poised to take those risks then.
But then, I mean, look, I agree, but there is a counter. Okay, and this is the counter which I hear from a lot of my friends. I mean, we're in the similar age group, right?
Yeah.
The counter is, what about the opportunity cost? Because, I mean, in your mid-30s or slightly towards your late 30s is generally the age where you are in the top 5% or in some cases top 1% in a corporate. Right? So, example, if you're working anywhere, you're out there.
Yeah.
You're a senior VP, director, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And when you're starting up, you're basically letting go of those opportunities.
Yeah.
Right? So, the same question, right? Apart from the conviction, what else? What else drove you to do this? Because there's a high chance of failure, right? I mean, with every startup, startup, there's a very high chance of failure, right? What was that in your case?
So I've been this sort of rainmaker for a lot of the career stints that I've done. I'll give you examples, okay?
Yeah.
So when I did a stint in Africa and I was coming back to India, and I was hired by Leo Burnett to run an office called Orchard in Bangalore, which had been in the red for a good number of years. And there was some kind of talk about, should we...
Like massive red or...
I mean, they
had
not been profitable for a while. Okay. Run by this gentleman called Thomas Xavier. At the time, he was the chairman of Orchard, had founded Orchard, and such an amazing gentleman. I count him as one of my mentors even today. If I'm at a crossroad and I need to take some decisions, he's one of the people I would turn to for advice and for help. And he's always, has the wisest things to say. Such an amazing human being that he is. And I saw that you had such an amazing creative mind sitting out there, who just didn't have the right business partner to be able to develop something. So literally, it was kind of restructuring the organization and making it profitable for the 2 years that I spent at Orchard. And so that was my first big sort of turnaround opportunity.
Correct.
Then I moved to Vietnam with Lo, and Lo had some seen some tough days because of the larger corporates cutting budgets. And then I did a lot of biz dev to be able to turn around the agency and completely to new heights. So by the time I was there, I'd spent a good number of time in the industry to have enough foresight to see that this whole, the holding company model in the advertising space was a cookie that was about to crumble, right? Because the holding model was being challenged by emerging businesses, by the change in technology,
Correct.
by the change in clients' expectations, and because of which I literally had the foresight of that this is not where this is going to go. It's going to go anywhere different, and so which is why I took a very conscious call to join an independent agency to unlearn the entire holding company way of doing things, because I've always been, whether it was with Ogilvy in India or Rediffusion YNR or Leo Burnett or Ogilvy Africa, whatever I did, it was all these really, and then Low in Vietnam, all of these were big holding companies. And so I've been trained and groomed in a certain way of thinking and way of working. So until unless you don't switch off from that and learn how an independent agency works, it's going to be very hard for you to rewire yourself, right? So that's so it was a conscious call that I took then, and so I worked towards it. And again with Fibis, I've seen a lot of success in terms of how I was able to contribute to the company's growth.
Sure.
And so you come to a point where if you've done this for other companies and corporates throughout your career, then
why not for
why
myself?
not for yourself? So I think that so creating a habit out of creating opportunities out of nothing almost gave me that extra push I needed. So it was more than the confidence of I can go get it done. It's about I have done it, and that's exactly what I need to do. But this time I have more skin in the game, and I choose to do it for myself.
Sure. So this was in 2018 with M&C Saatchi.
2018, yeah, Jan of 2018.
Okay,
exactly 6 years ago.
We'll circle back to M&C Saatchi later in the conversation again.
Yeah.
But before that, just give us an idea about the landscape of advertising and media in Indonesia.
Sure.
Right. Maybe you can compare it with other large economies.
Sure.
What is unique about the landscape over here? How it is different? Surprises.
Okay. So I believe that the Indonesian market is massive, that it can feed many mouths, and somebody's gain doesn't have to come because of somebody's loss, because there's so many new opportunities being created here. Unlike other markets where someone has to lose for another person to win.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
This is what you call gotong royong, of we win it together in the best the best example of it, right? Where at a certain level you compete, but from a different perspective you're also solving the same problem together. So I've literally seen agencies, companies collaborate and grow together versus a dog-eat-dog fight where
correct.
One person has to lose for the other.
But why do you think that's the case? Generally, it's not the case in any fast-growing economy.
Yeah.
Right. Fast-growing economy has a corporation and entrepreneurs who basically just want to win it all.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's the case with Indonesia? And I mean, I've experienced it myself.
Yeah.
So I hear you.
Yeah. But
what is your perspective? Why do you think it's the case over here? Is it the people or what?
Of course, it's the people, it's the culture, right? So it's just that as a people, Indonesians are non-conflicting. They are. I mean, they've seen the worst of conflicts in their history.
Correct.
But having overcome all of that, they seem to be in a mindset where they see everybody's win as a collective win.
Collective win.
Rather than one person winning, you know. And the 8 years that I've spent here, I think that is one of the things that I appreciate most about this country, right? That if you're having a bit of a weak moment, they're not going to crawl over you. Somebody's or the other will give you that helping hand and lift you up and say, "Come, let's walk along." You know.
True.
And so that's one of the things that draws me so much and makes me feel so much at home when I'm in Indonesia.
Sure.
Yeah.
How are the clients different?
I mean, clients are different in
Like, I mean,
in what context?
Let's say, for example, there are certain countries, like Singapore, for example, the clients are very demanding.
Yeah.
Right. Let's say Philippines. Again, my experience, clients are more accommodating. Right. I mean, they're willing to go with your vision.
Yeah.
Rather than being very strict and imposing theirs. Right. How about Indonesia? I mean,
see, from that perspective, I'll give you a bit of a global insight on clients, having worked in 6-7 different countries. I believe the reason why we advertising folks exist, and this is going to sound really funny, but
sure,
I'll give context to it. The reason why we exist is sometimes to save the client from its brand. Okay.
I think I've got my thumbnail.
The reason why I say that is that when clients are living, breathing their brand day in and day out, they're so close to the problem.
Correct.
That they are almost one with it and very removed from the solution.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes our role is to come as that custodian, as that brand guardian, and help them see the same problem through multiple lenses, where they get perspective.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair.
And from that perspective, we are able to take the best course of action going forward. But the number of times where some clients would come up and suggest with a lot of conviction actions on their brand which are actually detrimental to the business and the brand in the long term, and they've not thought of it, you'll be surprised how often that happens.
Okay.
So broadly, I'm saying across markets and across countries, and that's what really makes a client and agency relationship really special, because then you're one team and you're in it together. But then as an agency, you're that extra pair of ears and eyes and hands for the client to be able to develop that perspective on their behalf and then lead the brand to a certain kind of success. And interestingly, like, many of the CEOs I work with don't come from a marketing background. They're either finance,
mostly finance or business,
or general management led, but not too many of them actually come from a marketing perspective.
True.
Right? So when they take decisions on the business, sometimes they undermine the impact of what marketing can actually do for the business. And to have somebody as an advisor in that capacity actually is a major addition to their arsenal to go out and win these battles and wars that they want to win.
True. Okay, let's get back to putting all your eggs in one basket and taking that call.
So you want to take the question on the Indonesia, how clients are different.
Oh yes, let's complete that loop.
Okay,
let's complete that loop.
So what I found in Indonesia, how clients are different, is that they let you be, right? They let you do what you propose is the way forward for the brand. But then they also, one is that once you can achieve that level of, once you can achieve that level of confidence from them, or rather gain that level of confidence, they would test you in and out. They would
give an example. Give an example.
Yourself
give an example
time.
Without naming. Let's give an example. let's talk about a simple brief or whatever, a real one without names.
Any examples would actually come in the way of breaching client confidentiality.
No, okay,
So I'm
then we
trying to
ignore
see.
that. Then we ignore it, or
Yeah.
just a make believe campaign, because that really eases out,
There's so
right?
many.
It just eases out.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you an example of a bank client. Okay, who basically have had an issue from the time they started their business, and I happened to have a conversation with the CEO 6 years ago. Okay, and they went down their path and did whatever they had to do. But after a long gap, I got a call from the CEO who said that, is there any room for us to work together again?
Okay.
So I was like, why? Like, because what you told me long time ago is what I believe I actually need. And so sometimes as an agency professional, you have to manage that balance between what a client wants and what a client needs. And very often the client wants a lot of things.
Yeah.
But our job is not exactly to give them what they want, but give them what they need to be able to solve the problem that they have at hand. And so a particular model that was suggested, when we've seen success with that model across many other categories and clients, this client had that sort of perspective of seeing what these successes have been like, and then come back after 4 or 5 years and said, can you do the same for me?
Sure.
You were right, and now I want you to come and do the same for me. So that's an example that I could probably share with you. Yeah.
So 2018, you basically put all your bets on M&C Saatchi, and it's almost 6 years later.
Exactly.
Exactly the same. You just doubled it down with whatever you've gained in the last 6 years. How did this happen? And again, what was the mindset? Because I mean, you're adding on to the risk again, right?
Yeah.
What was the mindset?
So with Saatchi, I mean, it was good to be a part of a very large network. But as a creative entrepreneur, I had certain other ambitions. And I've been in talks with Saatchi for the last, M&C Saatchi for the last 2 years, that I really want to go independent. Earlier with the former CEO, global CEO Maureen McLennan, and then with Zilla Bingthon, who came in as the interim CM. She's the chairperson of the board.
I remember this chat which we had, I think some couple of years back at Eastern Promise, right? I think you were just about to go for that discussion.
Yeah. Basically, it was an active discussion, and so basically, as a creative entrepreneur, I want to build a kind of a legacy of my own, and I want to build a business that lives and breathes certain ethos, but I'm also able to carry that across multiple countries that I've had the privilege of working over and stuff, and build a kind of a regional business. And sometimes when you're part of a network, it becomes a sort of a restricted territory for you, because
I mean, by the nature, the networks
would have their own, sort of
checks and balances,
or commitments in different markets, etc. So the only way forward was for me to be completely independent, along with my co-founders Dami and Elki. Then to be able to, leverage that independence, the power and the responsibility that comes with that independence, to be able to meet those creative ambitions.
And your founders were in line with this from day one.
Completely. I'm very fortunate to have two co-founders who have the same vision and the same belief and the same rigor. So yeah.
Okay. So now you own the whole thing, right? MoonFolks is owned by the
entirely
founders.
by the founders.
Entirely by the founders. And it's been bootstrapped throughout.
Yeah, from when we started with M&C Saatchi, 6 years down the line, we ran it with Saatchi. Now, from here on, we run it entirely by ourselves. So,
How big is the team now?
About 120.
Woo.
Yeah.
And you planning to expand the scope of what MoonScopes does in the other digital aspects as well?
Yeah, so we're a complete full service agency.
Okay.
So we look at our business in terms of how we enable commerce. Okay, so we come with a very strong purpose. Our purpose is to be one of the most effective agencies in the world.
Okay.
Not in Indonesia, Southeast Asia, APAC, in the world.
Sure.
And that's a very audacious belief. That brings us to our purpose, which is we exist to make audacious possible by helping brands do the impossible. So for us, success is defined by not meeting your targets. Can we double, triple your targets? And can we do it in half the time just because we can? Right? And so that's the audacity with which we approach business, which a lot of clients like and appreciate, because it gives them a sense of ambition, a sense of purpose, a sense of focus, and it gives them a sense and confidence that somebody is looking after their success as a business and not just as a brand or a marketing win, right?
Sure.
So it's so that way we come in as consultants to clients, and so we and how we do this is through this model we created called accelerated commerce. So we put commerce at the heart of everything we do, and all our functions work towards making commerce happen. So our advertising function helps convert brand purpose to commerce. Okay. Through digital, we convert content to commerce. Through shopper and activation, we transform brand experience to commerce. And through PR, which includes influencer marketing and reviews and ratings and all things where digital influence comes in, we convert brand reputation to commerce. And all of these functions work together to be able to help a client succeed in the commerce landscape. So that's how we look at business largely.
Sure.
And that also feeds into what kind of skill sets we need to develop, what kind of capacity we need to create within the agency to be able to meet that end.
Sure. Makes sense. And now, right now, you're focused only on Indonesia.
At the moment, yeah,
yes.
we only focus
regional
on
expansion plans?
There have always been.
Okay.
Which is the reason why we chose to go independent.
Sure.
So yes.
Which other territories are very exciting to you?
So our holding company is still in Singapore.
Oh.
We're a PT payment company.
Sure.
And activating that gives us a bit of a regional foothold.
Sure.
Because Singapore being a strong regional market. Then there is Vietnam, where I have lived and worked before, have strong talent and client relationships, which I want to leverage. I see Thailand as a very, very potential market. I see Philippines as a developing, growing market. So yeah, I mean, these are the core markets that we want to build going forward.
Sure. No, sounds great. Okay, I want to touch about slightly on the personal space, right? Advertising life can be very brutal.
Yeah.
Long hours.
Yeah.
No weekends at times, at stretch. And if your partner is not from the advertising world, it can get very, very tricky. And this is something which I've observed very closely with friends, and I'm sure you must have done that as well.
Yeah.
How does that work? I mean, balancing these, because you're operating in two extreme worlds, and in your case, you're not just an employee, right? I mean, every decision which you make affects now odd 120 people.
Yeah.
And the clients.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, your mindset is going to reflect in the work which is going to get delivered at the end of the day as well.
Yeah.
Right? Let's talk about that space as well.
Sure. I mean, I've been through a journey in life as well, where I was married before, and I've been through separation, a divorce, and that was with somebody very dear to me, but again, like you said, was from a different profession, and and I was also in a different phase in life where work meant everything and work defined me, and and sadly, or maybe for the better, my first marriage fell apart, and but then you learn from your experiences and you grow. And I was fortunate enough that life gave me a second chance at love, and I met Natasha, my wife, whom you've met.
Yeah.
And she comes from the advertising background. She exactly gets the kind of space I'm in. But my success, if you say success, is not mine alone. It's a combination of so many people have to come together, right? Like they say, it takes a village to raise a child.
True.
So my village, in that case, consists of course, my wife, my parents, my brother, in the way they've supported and backed me. My partners, Dami and Elki, who literally in a heartbeat wanted to live this dream together with me, and all the guys who choose to work with me and be a part of me as one family, because they had the choice, or have the choice even today, to work with anyone, agencies larger than us, agencies nicher than us. But the reason that they chose to be as a part of me, whether it was M&C Saatchi or whether it's MoonFolks, is it means a lot to me. So it's all of these factors coming together that help contribute to you getting anywhere, or all of us getting anywhere. And so you have to enforce a sense of balance and discipline in your life, because life's not going to give you that many chances.
I was about to come to that. I mean, so again, in my limited understanding of media and advertising business, I feel it can be very harsh. It has the ability to make one delusional because of the reach, right? And the power with comes with that reach. It's very easy for one to lose their mind and become delusional. How does one stay sane in such a glamorous industry as such?
Trust me, it's not as glamorous as it used to be in the Mad Men days.
No, definitely. I mean, not as glamorous as Mad Men days, of course. But it still is, right? It still is. How does one stay sane?
I think it comes from a certain level of maturity, of being able to handle all of that. And there's a lot of noise around you, but how do you quiet your mind and kind of, in a way, look through the noise and find your little space within that? I think that's important. I've had to work towards it. I've had to, stress can get to you. It can affect health. It can affect,
absolutely,
your mental framework or mental health, as they call it now. So I do meditate off and on. I've and that helps me put things in perspective. I do introspect a lot. I do take out time to think, not just about work, but also about life
in general.
So it's important once in a while to switch off a little bit and just try and put yourself aside and try and look at your life from a third person perspective, where you are the third voice and you're the third pair of eyes, and you're trying to analyze things differently, and it gives you a lot of stability in terms of how to handle certain situations and kind of keep certain things in check and keep certain and also it all comes with inculcating the right kind of habits over time. So it's not a you can't just wake up one day and say you're going to have it. You're going to have to work towards it over time. So taking care of your health, doing a little bit of exercise, indulging in a little sport, spending quality time with family. It's not about how many hours you spend, but the few hours that
how present you are in that moment.
And making that count is extremely crucial. And also acknowledging how many sacrifices my wife has had to make uh, so that I can go out and do the things I
Build
want
this,
to
build
this.
MoonFolks.
Yeah, exactly. So really appreciative of all of that.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I want to touch upon the venture-backed startups, right? I mean, so you've worked with quite a few of them, especially in the boom period where they were pumped with very large amounts of money
Yeah.
and very audacious campaigns in terms of scale
Yeah.
and vision were run. Uh, what do you see? What do you feel is the difference between, let's say, a traditional brand which comes to you with a brief and the way they operate, and let's say a venture-backed startup? How would you compare these?
So they're very different business models per se, right?
Yeah.
So what you call a traditional company is an EBIT based
True.
operator. Okay.
True.
So basically, they are fundamentally strong businesses.
Correct. Very cash positive.
They have, most of them would already be listed.
Yes.
So they're answerable to shareholders. They're answerable to a set of investors. There's a lot of governance that goes into how they audit it, what happens.
Correct.
In and there are checks and balances to keep them grounded and in place. And so they, even if they do take risks, they take calculated risks in terms of keeping the fundamentals grounded, right, in a way. And if you're talking about working with startups in the days where easy money was kind of flowing in, it was different, because then sometimes as a business person, you could see a lot of loopholes on what they wanted to do
in the model itself.
And then but then we come in as advisors, so we are able to not just looking at marketing and comms, but also look at business as a perspective.
Correct. Very holistic view, right?
Yeah, and some would be willing to listen, and some would be very adamant. And what I've really found is, if I've looked at my journey with some of those companies, those who were actually willing to listen are the ones who've actually created something of value and have withstood those headwinds and are survivors. And those.
But that's with life as well, na?
Exactly.
One who's willing to listen.
Yeah.
Only that one will actually understand.
Yeah. And there are people who sadly, fell through the way and weren't able to stand up to the difficult times that came up. Today it's a different conversation, though, because
What's the conversation today?
Today it's all about. I mean, the growth-led conversation has become a sustainable growth conversation, right? So can a business also become a bit positive? Can a business also take responsibility for the investors' money? So growth, but not growth at the kind of cost that it was coming up, but growth which is a sustainable growth, where a business should eventually be able to sustain itself.
True. So, between M&C Saatchi Indonesia to MoonFolks, there's something else also has happened, which has shaken up the whole advertising in the digital world, which is Gen AI. Right. What do you think is the impact of all these new tech, which is very accessible, extremely easy to operate?
Absolutely.
What do you think is the impact of that on the agency side? Right. I mean, we can. The client side is a different conversation altogether. But on the agency side,
see, I look at it this way. Like, I went through this whole digital transformation that happened some time ago, when digital imaging software first surfaced, right?
Yeah.
Before this, all the artwork used to be done literally by cut and paste and hand and typesetting, right?
Yeah.
The minute the digital transformation of the industry happened, where Photoshop and Illustrator.
Which year would that be?
I'm saying the year 1998 to 2001.
yeah.
I mean, that's where you know, computing power came into the creative business.
Correct.
Right? And we saw this massive transformation that happened, right? Where, you know, people had to, even if you had an artistic bent of mind, you had to inculcate, you know, skills in different softwares to be able to implement that creative understanding in through a software, right?
Yeah.
I see that happening, that transformation repeating itself. Like they say, history repeats itself. I see that happening today with AI.
Okay.
Right? Where agencies are largely to benefit in terms of implementing AI in the creative business, because it just makes them more efficient, and pushes the execution boundaries up to a point. Because at the end of the day, AI is as good as what prompts you give to it, right? So inculcating skills in prompting is now a new skill set that agencies are either doing it, or they will be forced to do it, or probably they'll get wiped out if they don't change with the evolving times.
It's a very entrepreneurial answer. Let's talk to the creative Anish, who has a very creative bent. Now, from that perspective, what do you think of, let's say, a Gen AI or a Chat GPT, which can basically write that essay of yours, which you used to do in college, within, let's say, 30 seconds, or can create that doodle within 10 seconds. What are your thoughts on that? As a person, as a creative person?
As a creative person, I believe that there'll be two kinds of creative persons. There will be the purists who will be like, no, I'm going to take my hours and draw that doodle.
Correct.
Or I can be that, you know, if I'm capable of leveraging AI to a point where I can do it faster, then can you imagine how far can I go and how much can I do? One. And two, how much can I push my creative boundaries to be able to go deeper into what I'm doing? So how many more layers could I put to my level of creativity? And how many more, you know, iterations and versions and variations can I create to be able to really push my creative boundaries? So you'll have, and this neither is right or wrong, right? Like you don't have, I mean, both perspectives are right. But if I was an artist, I probably wouldn't have gone into advertising, right? Because as creative people, if you choose to be in advertising, it's at the end of the day commercial, creative.
True.
Right? And so our job is to commercially make creative work for brands and for companies. And so therefore, I believe that you will have both kinds of people in the world, and both will have their place.
Good answer.
Yeah.
No, this is a good answer. Okay, moving on from AI, where do you think the overall industry in Indonesia is headed? Let's just talk about the future of it, right? What do you see in the coming years? What kind of changes you're expecting, and what kind of changes do you want? Right.
Sure.
So one is more of a foresight, and one is what you want as an agency, as a creative person.
Sure. So I mean, there's enough said about how the Indonesian economy is poised to grow, right? We will be, by 2030, I believe, the fourth largest economy in the world, in Indonesia. So if the next 6 years are going to get us there, you can imagine there's going to be so much of momentum and so much of growth in this market. Okay, and advertising thrives wherever growth happens, because our job is largely to create demand for products and services that are out there. And so, as demand creators, I see that there's a very, very bright future. Like, this is the place to be.
Okay.
In terms of riding that wave of growth and momentum, right? And that's only the medium term. If you say 20 years down the line, of course, the economy in Indonesia is bound to flourish even more. The local talent pool is, should ripen even further, given that, I mean, we are right now breeding and grooming the next wave of the workforce that is going to come and the creators of tomorrow, the coders of tomorrow.
Correct.
Yeah. So with a large population, 98% literacy, a lot of focus on developing vocational skill sets,
infrastructure
booming. I think it's poised to do really well in the mid-term and also in the long term. In the current term, given that 2 days from now we have elections and stuff, there might be a little bit of turmoil. There might be a little bit of kind of volatility in the market, but eventually
it's expected in any large democracy.
Any large democracy, and this is the third largest democracy, so you can imagine the impact of it.
True.
Yeah, so this the first quarter therefore has been a little tempered, mostly for all businesses in Indonesia. But yeah, that's par for course. You've got to bear that brunt once every 4 years.
Sure.
What I personally would want for the industry is to groom talent, because of course in all industries in Indonesia, it's easy to do business, but it's very hard to find the talent that is going to build and run that business. So we do have a massive talent crunch. The quality of talent that we have is good, but we need more of that. Right? And we were talking about it, right? Advertising is not as glamorous as it was in the Mad Men days.
Correct.
So what do we do
But
now?
still that demanding. It's as demanding as it used to be.
Yeah, always is. Yeah. But how do we make that more attractive to the Gen Zs of today?
Yeah.
And they have a very different perspective on life,
expectations
and
as well, right? Yeah.
And so how do we relate with them? And because now when I talk to youngsters, I guess they're all looking for that one big idea which is going to become the next Gojek or the next Tokopedia or whatever. But I think it's going to be hard competing with that, because at the end of the day we remain real businesses which are grounded, which have strong fundamentals, which have to look at a positive EBIT every year and build something of value from there.
But either from a even from a workplace perspective, or the way and a startup projects itself from a work culture perspective, I think they've picked it up directly from an agency part. I mean, be it the beer nights or the ping pong table or the pool table, or having these large open offices. I mean, agencies have been doing this for a long time.
Correct.
Right? I mean, purely from projection perspective.
Yeah.
While you were saying, while you were comparing, this thought just crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the responsibility is, we always used to be a cool profession.
Yeah, coolest
and
of them.
And we still are. It's just that some other industries have kind of tried to steal away our thunder. So we need to reclaim our cool quotient and make the industry attractive for the best talent to come in.
Sure. What are your thoughts on influencer economy? I mean, there's too much being said, published, and especially in Indonesia, because the dynamics are a bit different, right? Wherein almost every second person is a creator in his or her own way.
Yeah.
Right. What are your thoughts on that?
We've only scratched the surface when it comes to making influence count. Okay. Because when you say influencer, every creator is not an influencer. Okay, you can be a creator.
Correct.
And people, but do you have influence on your followers is a big question mark, right?
True.
So today we map influencers largely by the reach they give you, by the kind of following they have. But people are waking up to the fact that there are elements of fraud today
Massive.
with influencers,
Massive.
right? So the number of followers isn't good enough. There are filters today to be able to gauge how much of your your followers are actually active, and how many are bots and how many are fake accounts.
We're actually planning to do a round table with some of the folks in the economy, including the likes of Clark Kalyan, where his platform comes into play in terms of fraud detection and more. And we also plan to bring one influencer on the table.
Okay.
Just understand what really is happening on ground.
True.
Right? Because it looks extremely easy. And I keep talking to these very young folks who are just coming out of college and they want to become an influencer. I'm like, okay, I mean, good. Aspirations, great. Right? But try to understand at least what's really actually happening on the ground. Because apart from the brand deals, you're not going to get any sort of sustainable money from the platforms.
Correct.
Platforms will not be able to feed you. It's only when the brand deals come is when you see any sort of real money.
Correct.
And it's only 0.5% of creators who get brand deals. Right? I mean, the micro influencers, they actually earn very, very little. Right?
I mean, they're happy doing barter deals as well.
Yeah.
Get a pack to try or get a free sample or something, and they'll click on that.
I mean, you can do it in your spare time. That's okay.
But making a living of it is a different ball game.
True.
So I think that the clients are questioning, the viability of having influencers. Something very interesting about Indonesia and the way the market operates, right? So the next fad becomes the go-to thing. You know? So when digital advertising emerged and made it sort of kind of started flourishing in Indonesia, most clients would come and say, okay, I'm going to stop my TV campaigns. I'm going to, stop my overall, and because digital is a more efficient way of doing that, right? And so let's spend less money and let's look at everything from a digital first point of view, which is good. But then digital also is a part of your marketing mix.
Correct.
And not a replacement of your marketing mix.
Correct.
And which is where so many clients actually went through their journey, burned their fingers, and
I
learned.
won't blame them as well. I mean, it's very easy to actually get into that mindset that, hey, listen, this is the future. Let's do this from today. Because eventually there's gonna be, it's basically a mindset.
So similar thing happened when influencer marketing kind of surfaced in Indonesia, and then a lot of the clients were actually having conversations saying that I want to stop all other marketing activities and only focus on doing influencer marketing.
Okay.
Which again questions the fundamentals of what you are and how you want to build your business.
True.
And eventually, people learn along the way.
Share your parting thoughts. You can share whatever, right? How was this conversation?
I think it was interesting. I mean, not that I give you any information that you wouldn't know, but I'm sure among the audience they would have found some of the things very
I'm pretty
engaging.
sure. I mean, look, you've been in this business for a very long time, right? I mean, it's more than 2 decades now. And you've seen the evolution of it. Right. So unlike, let's say, some traditional businesses where things have just remained the way they are, only the machines have changed. In this case, the whole business has changed. Right. Plus, you've seen evolution of these startups, right, which are a different beast altogether. The way they spend, the way they want to communicate with users, the channels, the smartphone, the notifications. Right. I mean, it's a very different journey. So I'm pretty sure that the audience will actually enjoy the bits of it. I want to do another roundtable on advertising. sometime in future.
Sure.
And would love to bring you back again
Happy to
on the podcast.
Yeah.
And in that one, we can dwell into deeper and more niche aspects of
Sure.
things. We can get a bit technical.
Sure.
More of a masterclass of thoughts,
Sure.
of sorts. We do it. Thank you once again for
Pleasure.
doing this.
Thank you. Thank
and wishing you and MoonFolks team loads of success.
Thank you so much,
I'm
Bipin, for coming.
pretty
and-
sure you guys are gonna do amazing.
Thank
I
you.
was extremely happy. I told you on the phone as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm like so happy that finally this happened.
Yeah.
Very happy for you
Thank
and
you.
very happy for the team.
Thank you.
Thank you once again. For
Thanks,
doing this.
Bipin.
Thanks.
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 All the best.